Okay. Approval of minutes from the December 6, 2010 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Has everybody had time to look at them? Okay, you got a motion? Okay. Justin made a motion. You made a second, Mr. Lewis? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Old business, item number 3.
We have 4 candidates who tested last Thursday. They all 4 passed their examination. For the number 1, Patrick Broussard, he's pending his bond.
Okay.
So if we want to do him separately, and then the other 3, everything is complete and on file.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve Alex, Kenneth, and Raymond. Since all their paperwork's in order, and we'll pass those out.
I'll second.
Okay, that was second, Mr. Bristol. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
I make a motion, we approve Patrick Broussard when his bond comes in.
I'll second.
Okay, when his bond comes in? Okay. That was
I've
second.
received the email version, so I know it's coming.
Right, but
Sorry.
when you get the
When
paper.
when you receive it. Okay.
Right.
Have a second?
Greg.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Approval of apprentice applicants. First one is Becky Jones.
Yeah, we have Becky Johnson and Selena Stiles.
I'm sorry,
That's
Johnson.
all right, and they're both asking to be apprentices under Deborah Johnson at Auctions Unlimited.
Okay.
Can I see it? Is all the paperwork?
I have the apprentices, I don't have Deborah's. Is that the one you're asking for? I don't have Deborah's file. Sorry. I could get it, if you want me to have to get it.
Mr. Chairman, who's auction unlimited?
Okay, we have a question from Representative Guinn.
Auctions Unlimited is the auction business that Deborah Johnson owns.
Where are they out?
I'm sorry, I don't have that information. It's Keithville is where they reside. I don't know if that's the official mailing address of the business.
It's in that area of the state.
North.
Yeah, it's like Shreveport, I think. But don't hold me to that.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
So, I do, Anna, you can have 2 apprentices?
There's no prohibition against it.
I would say you can have 1 for some reason, I don't worry about that.
Hey, usually one at a time.
Yeah, but I don't think we've had a request before for more than one.
Yeah, let's look at the paperwork and see the funds.
Okay. I did look in our statute. It does talk about the fact that an apprentice can only have 1 auctioneer as the supervisor, so they can only apprentice under 1 auctioneer. But it does not say that an auctioneer is limited to how many apprentices they have at a particular time. Do you guys want me to go run and get Deborah's file? I certainly can do that.
Yeah, I would just like to see how long. Are they related?
Yes, I believe that Deborah is her mother.
Oh, good.
That's what we need to find out.
She does have regular auctions. I know that because I often check for advertising. So that it's not like she doesn't have that many. She can probably use 2 people. But again, it's up to you. You say this you can only do 1 at a time.
No, it's what the statute says.
Yeah,
I just.
Yeah.
No, statute.
Nobody's ever come in with 2 since I've been here.
exactly. It's not limited because we never contemplated 2
She
children.
has renewed, it's just I haven't gotten to filing her yet.
But she's in good standing now.
Yes. She does not show up in anything for this hearing, actually.
Well, I guess you'll both do it 2 at one time.
I know the statutes, but I never have heard of anybody, 2 people being an apprentice at the same time on 1 auctioneer.
I'm not sure it doesn't contemplate because no one ever expected more than 1 person to actually be in that situation.
Why don't we postpone until we find out for sure?
It was up to the board. Do you think that's too much for 1 person to be monitoring 2
Well, I think we
individual
need to,
apprentices?
I think we need to somebody needs to make a motion to, table it until we can find out.
I'll make that motion. So,
We have a motion, have a second? Have a second, Mr. Brister. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay.
You'll look into that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem doing it, but again, it's not a question of statute so much as it's just, you know, we never contemplated, I don't think the statute contemplated that this request would come in. It's up to the board to basically decide how much of an effort it would be for two, and then to ask her if she has a drug list, which one does she really want to do first?
Right.
Okay.
Well, the statutes do, say still that you can only auction under the.
Right. In other words,
They can't go out and do an auction.
right, no, it has to be under her license, that's correct. In other
She
words,
has to be present.
What do
She
you
has
want
to
to
be
say,
right.
Martin?
I was just thinking about it, Ken, in my opinion, I don't see why it'd be a problem to have 2 or 3 or 4 of it. In my situation, it wouldn't be no big problem with me if I had 2 or 3 or 4 apprentices under my,
You know these people though?
well, I wouldn't have them under me unless I didn't know them. I don't know these, I'm not even.
No, that's what we were talking about.
I'm just talking about under the general situation, if you had to have, say I had 2 or 3 guys wanting to work under me as an apprentice that I had working for me, that wouldn't be a problem. I mean, that wouldn't, for me to have 2 or 3.
Seems it'd be easier to train more than one person at a time.
Well, sure, I'd be no problem.
I think what we're gonna check is the statutes, so won't we?
well, the statute, I don't think addresses the issue. That's what I'm saying, it doesn't
I
say.
understand, I may be totally wrong, but I understand.
What is
My understanding is that you can train, you just have to be an apprentice under a licensed auctioneer.
Well, that's the discretion
But it
of the
doesn't
board.
restrict it to be one. I don't see why it would be harmful to have 2 or 3.
Well, it doesn't have a regulation on the limit, and you can't, the auctioneer can't, you know, the apprentice has to auction up under him, so if it's got 2 people and he lets both of them auction at the, you know, in the auction, that's still, he's watching them, so, you know, it doesn't have a problem. In my personal opinion, it wouldn't be a problem because the auction, the apprentice has to auction at the auctioneer's site or with the
You'd have to
auctioneer's
work
presence.
under the
Correct, so, you know.
Excuse me, may I ask a question? Are we on item 2?
Yeah.
Isn't that addressed in the regulations that the auctioneers sign? That there can only be one?
That's what we're looking at.
Well, did anybody do any due diligence on this auction firm? Have you ever had a complaint filed against them?
I just looked at
Nothing in the file.
Why don't you check with the other states and see what they're doing on that issue before the next meeting? Find out, you know, I mean, if it ain't a problem, then we can address it and go on.
Well, because their bond and everything else will have to go back against this auctioneer, these apprentices. Are they required for the bond?
They
To
have
The
protect-
apprentice, each apprentice has a bond,
It's a separate one.
a separate
Yeah,
bond in their own.
But to
name.
protect the general public, which is the obligation of the board, I think, I would do a due diligence check on them to make sure that they haven't had any complaints or any fraudulent activity or anything in the past. Before you issue, you know, it's okay, just like Marvin said, but I've never heard of these people. Have y'all?
I wasn't addressing the issue of who these people were. I was addressing the issue of how many apprentices you could have under an auctioneer. And I know it wouldn't bother me if I had a half a dozen.
Well, no doubt, but the main intent of the auctioneer's license is was in the interest of the people of the state. By doing that, I think we need to do
That's why I said mine.
a due diligence report. If you're gonna have apprenticed auctioneers, for goodness gracious, get them under one that's a good auctioneer. and-
Right here.
But you don't have any control over that, though, Johnny, really. If they're a licensed auctioneer, then as far as your jurisdiction.
Yeah,
What does the law say as far as, got anything about you cannot have more than?
No, that's what I'm saying, is there's no, it's not addressed specifically.
I thought we did that one time, 2 weeks.
A board member from North Louisiana would probably know who they are, I would think.
yeah, I just said, I never heard of it.
I
Yeah, I mean,
All
we
of a
have heard of
sudden,
them.
you need two auctioneers.
We never had
If you're an auctioneer yourself, you're doing a lot of business, and my concern is,
I'm aware of,
I
yeah.
just want, oh, you are?
There will be just one licensed auctioneer.
They have a little auction house, they just sign on auctions, just a little general
But
merchandise.
it does not address
It doesn't say how many you can have, it says you can only do one at a time, that's the
You
thing.
could have only one supervisor.
apprentices. There will be
Supervisor,
just
right.
one licensed auctioneer
It
supervisor
doesn't say you
at
can't
a
have
time.
two apprentices, it just says you can only have.
One person can only supervise that
And then
apprentice auctioneer.
right, you can't have two auction licenses.
Correct.
Read it again, Michelle.
But it has to be the same auctioneer there at times.
This is from the rules and regulations of the apprentice auctioneer licensing. It says no more than one license shall be issued to any apprentice auctioneer for the same period of time. There will be just one licensed auctioneer supervisor at a time for an apprentice auctioneer. Should the apprentice auctioneer practice under another licensed auctioneer without a release from the first, his license shall be suspended.
Correct. And we addressed that issue in earlier board meeting when we had an issue of that magnitude where it wasn't a problem with more than one apprentice being up under auctioneer, but that apprentice, if he decided to leave that auctioneer, would have to notify the board, turn that license in, and apply for another license under another auctioneer.
They get another one under.
And I want to say that we've had one where it wasn't concurrent. In other words, you have one and then
You
they took on the
switched, that's the
second
one
one.
I'm talking about.
No, well, you took a second apprentice on later on in the year, but so they weren't timed together. This one, they're actually saying, let's start on the same day for two and end on the same day for two, which, may be an issue.
But the law number, that rule doesn't address that situation.
Yeah, but if I heard you correctly, is that the statute you just read?
That's the contract. In other words, you remember an apprentice has, and the auctioneer licensee has to sign the contract.
What it says there, he can't be apprentice on.
It's specified singular, not plural.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, it's talking about the person with the license, that can only be one. You can't go back and forth between two
Right, between auctioneers.
auctioneers, correct. It doesn't address the number of apprentices, so let's just look into that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, really, man, that'd be a good way to make some money, because you could get all of these apprentices coming to you and charge them $200 and tell them they can't sell anywhere else but at your sale.
Well, that's what the law
Prohibit
states.
going to auction school.
Well, the law states the apprentice auctioneer can only sell up under the one that he's licensed under. So we're not outside of that jurisdiction. The only thing we have to deal with is, can two apprentices be up under the same auctioneer, which I don't feel should be a problem as long as they have to substantiate and validate anyway. Because you got to do so many auctions per year. So you're not going to limit it. If you got two apprentices, and especially if he's the only or she's the only auctioneer in that area, then why make one auctioneer have to wait until the other one finish?
That's not so much that, you prohibit them from going to auction school and getting a formal education to become an auctioneer. That's fine if you got one, but it depends on who you're apprenticing under.
So
you need to qualify the apprentices to make sure.
So what we're saying is the apprentice program is not as valid as an institution? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is the apprentice program could be abused by the system to generate a little bit of money instead of letting them go to school. If you're gonna do more than 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, I mean, you can pull something wild hair out of the sky and create something that'll generate revenue that may be harmful to the people in the state of Louisiana.
Well, they gotta take the test anyway. So, I mean, that's supposed to be a substantiating factor that they know what they're supposed to be doing.
Right, the apprentice would eventually take the test.
Yeah, so that's the proof that they know once they get past that. I don't see it as a personal threat. You get more than 2, you might want to look at it.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah, it's not.
I apprentice my kids, but I don't know about everybody else.
Well, I couldn't find one to apprentice me, so I went to school.
I mean,
Yeah, but you got 10 of them, so that'll take a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
10 years, that'd be good for the time.
We got a motion to table this?
Yeah.
So we look into it further?
Yeah, just have her give us a little, or what the other states are doing, so we'll know.
We did on that. We voted.
Okay. And we voted?
Yeah.
All right. Item number